Well, let me ask you if this sounds familiar. You start a new diet or exercise program or really anything that takes a lot of work, willpower, and consistency with high hopes, wonderfully romantic intentions, and excitement. The first few days, maybe the first few weeks go great and you're full of enthusiasm. But then a few weeks in, max, things get harder. The scale isn't moving as fast as you'd hoped, or surprise, surprise, life didn't stop to make way to you, for you, so you could give all of your attention to this new endeavor that you were so excited about just a few weeks back. And suddenly, the romantic thoughts and initial excitement start to fade. Before you know it, you're struggling to stay motivated, and it feels like giving up is the easiest option. The sheen has worn off the shiny new object. Why am I sharing this? Because I'm going to talk about something that I think can help us understand what's going on here so that we can be better prepared and armor up for what to do about it. I like understanding things that are common to all of us and that can help us understand why we think, feel, and behave the way that we commonly do. By understanding these types of things, I have at least two goals in this week's presentation. Number one is to help everyone reduce feelings of despair and self-contempt for being or feeling like you're the only one who feels the way you do, you're the only one who's behaving the way you are, you're the only one who has had this feeling at only just a few weeks in that it's hopeless and it's just negative and it's a lot more work than you thought, and the romantic intention, the romanticized ideas really start to fade, and the shininess, as I said, the sheen is worn off the shiny. You're not alone. Okay, so I want to make sure that you know that. I want to make sure that you know this is incredibly common. And then kind of number two is by understanding we can be better prepared for the challenges we'll face, better able to press on, more prepared to win the daily battles, and ultimately so that we can win the war and reach our personal summit of success. So this week, I'm going to discuss something that helps to explain what's going on when we start off so wide-eyed and hopeful, but then, often quickly, the luster, as I said, wears off, the shiny new object. We're left to do the work, often quite boring, without much fanfare along the way, no ticker tape parades, without much for immediate results even, Some tiny ones, we have to be always on the lookout for the small improvements, make sure that we're celebrating those, but really when we're looking at the real results we're looking for, there aren't as many immediate, larger results. Change is not a straight path. It's a roller coaster of emotions and challenges. So let's check it out. This week I'm going to talk about the emotional cycles of change, a concept introduced by Patrick Lennington and Brian Moran in their book, The 12-Week Year. Their model, one they adapted from earlier models, which I'll share briefly, helps us understand the emotional stages we go through when pursuing significant goals like weight loss. Lennington and Moran drew inspiration for their emotional cycles of change from the work of Bruce Tuckman, Don Kelly, and Daryl Conner. Psychologist Bruce Tuckman came up with a memorable phrase, forming, storming, norming, and performing, in his 1965 paper, Developmental Sequence in Small Groups. It describes the path that teams follow on their way to high performance. Later, he added a fifth stage, adjourning, also known as mourning, to mark the end of a team's journey. That's 1965. Forming, storming, norming, performing. Fast forward to 1979 when Don Kelly and Daryl Conner developed the emotional cycle of change and published it in a 1979 annual handbook for group facilitators. Kelly and Conner focused on personal transitions during change, emphasizing the emotional roller coaster we experience. Their model outlines 5 emotional stages that most people go through during voluntary change. Stage 1, uninformed optimism. Stage 2, informed pessimism. Stage 3, hopeful realism. Stage 4, informed optimism. And stage 5, completion. Lennington and Moran, again, authors of the 12-Week Year, published in 2013, took Kelly and Connor's wave and modified it, also renaming a couple of the stages. So let's take a look at the emotional roller coaster that is so common among voluntary change seekers. Let's start with phase 1 of 5, uninformed optimism. This is when you're excited about your new weight loss plan. You envision a healthier, fitter you, and everything seems possible. This stage is characterized by high energy and enthusiasm, but it also involves underestimating the challenges ahead. So you are blissfully unaware, ignorant, or kidding yourself about the work ahead, but you're feeling quite positive, hopeful, and often excessively confident about your possibilities. Phase 2 is informed pessimism. As you start implementing your plan, you encounter obstacles. Maybe you're sore from workouts or flat out missing them, or you're struggling to stick to the eating regimen. The luster is wearing off the shiny new object. The initial excitement is starting to wear off, and you begin to realize this is harder than you thought. The doubts start to creep in. So you are now more informed, but feeling pessimistic. Many quit right here. Now, phase 3 is a big one. And the authors of the 12-Week Year changed the name from what Kelly and Connor had, which was hopeful realism at stage 3, to the Valley of Despair. I like this name a lot better. It's more realistic when I consider my 30 years of coaching. The Valley of Despair. This is the toughest part of the journey. It's where 99% feel like quitting and where 90% actually do quit because the effort seems too great and the results are not visible yet. Most people aren't good at delayed gratification, especially in modern times. They feel overwhelmed and disheartened at this stage. If 99% feel like quitting and 90% do quit, we can accurately say that it's very normal to recycle back to phase 1. It's very normal to recycle from phase 3 back to phase 1. Most people spend years in phases 1, 2, and 3. It's another reason why when someone says they just want to be normal, I cringe. I just want to be normal. Oh my God, I cringe. Normal is the last thing we want to be because normal is staying endlessly, chronically in phases 1, 2, and 3. So it's at phase 3, Valley of Despair, that 90% or so publicly or privately quit. If they decide to give it a go again, they start sometime later back at phase 1 with still somewhat uninformed optimism. Once again, what 90% or so don't do is press on. But more about what comes after the Valley of Despair in a moment. I said about 90% or so of changers publicly or privately quit at this stage. If you check out publicly, you might voice criticism or point out objections. If you check out privately, which is what most people do, you just lose interest, you become ambivalent about the situation, and you just reduce your involvement. In the 12-Week Year, the authors discuss this aspect of public or private checking out with something called productive tension. They say productive tension is the uncomfortable feeling you get when you're not doing the things you know you need to do. Our natural inclination when confronted with discomfort is to resolve it. In an effort to do this, people generally go one of two ways. The easy way out is to simply stop using the system and turn off the light that is shining on your performance breakdowns. Typically, this takes the form of passive resistance, and you put off scoring your week and tell yourself that you'll get to it later, but later never comes. The other way is to use productive tension as a catalyst for change. Instead of responding to the discomfort by bailing out, high achievers use the tension as an impetus to move forward. If you decide quitting is not an option, then the discomfort of productive tension will eventually compel you to take action on your tactics. And remember, productive tension is the uncomfortable feeling you get when you're not doing the things you know you need to do. So on one hand, it's good to recognize that it's normal to feel like quitting in the valley of despair. I think it's good to know that that's a very normal feeling. It's a very common feeling. 99% of people will feel like quitting at some point in the valley of despair. 90% will quit and they'll recycle. So it's very, very normal. All right, so you're definitely not alone there. In that, valley of despair. You're gonna either feel like quitting, even in phase 2, informed pessimism, or valley of despair. On the other hand, while it's good to recognize that that's normal, I think it's also important to see what we can do to tilt the scale more toward us being in the 10% who don't quit, who instead press on and get to the other side of effort. So take a look at this. To move past the valley of despair, you need practical strategies to ensure consistency of pillars 1 and 2, nutrition and physical activity. So we need practical strategies. We need to understand what is it about living life in our modern environment that makes it easier to be consistent with good nutrition and good physical activity principles, no matter what the situation, no matter what's going on, no matter what the day brings. And every day brings something. So how do we keep nutrition and physical activity more on point so that we can be more successful, so we can move past the valley of despair, get progress, which is going to help alleviate some of that despair, and keep us going on the good, strong, progressive track of eventual summit achievement? Well, pillar 3, emotional fitness. We've got to have strong emotional fitness. We've got to have focus, control, aspects of control, right? Gratitude, sleep, self-care, self-compassion, and making sure you put yourself on your to-do list each day. Emotional fitness is a huge lesson, standalone in and of itself. These are just quick things that I think are top of mind as I was putting this together, that I think are most important when it comes to emotional fitness. Let me repeat them again. Focus. Where's your focus? How are you managing control? Are you trying to control more than you should? Are you trying to control more than you have the ability to do? Have you not accepted what you cannot control? Gratitude, sleep, self-care, self-compassion, making sure you put yourself on your to-do list. I should show you the slide, right? So I don't know when that slide didn't show up, but you can see what's going on here. 1 and 2, nutrition, physical activity. Pillar 3, emotional fitness that I was just talking about. All right. So pillar 4, focus on the why behind your goals and burn the bridges and ships that could provide any escape. Leave no option but to follow through on the proven plan. Be accountable to yourself first and keep your self promises. Why power drives willpower. Willpower, doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. Triggers management, pillar 5, know your triggers. What is it that drives you to eat off plan? What is it that has you more likely to not engage in physical activity? Eating off plan, not engaging in physical activity, any triggers at all, people, places, things, ultra-processed food, time of day, seasons, environments, you name it. All these things and more can be triggers. We want to plan ahead when you can. You want to develop a personal abstinence plan, and you want to have your non-food coping mechanisms top of mind. Pillar 6, you want to engage personal, professional, and spiritual support more than you think you need. Whatever you do, don't leave yourself alone with the beast. All the external and internal obesogenic forces present from eyes open to eyes closed every single day. That's the beast. All internal and internal obesogenic forces present from eyes open to eyes closed every single day. It takes no days off, 365 days a year, and we need support. We need support. Going alone leaves you alone with it, and it loves to have its way with you when it's alone with you. Engage support. Engage support. I'm just going to add also, it's a good idea to break down your goals into smaller, manageable tasks. These are just extra tips. And track your progress, celebrate the small wins, be flexible, and adjust your strategies as needed. 6 pillars for ultimate success, folks. 6 pillars right here. By applying the strategies within these 6 pillars, you can push through the toughest part of your journey. You can get to the other side of effort. So if you're among the 10% or so who do move past the valley of despair, you reach phase 4, informed optimism, what I and others have referred to as the other side of effort. You've seen some progress. And while you recognize the challenges, you also see that your efforts are paying off. There's renewed energy. You're more knowledgeable, and you have a more realistic view of what it'll take to achieve your goals. And finally, if you pursue the worthy endeavor and persist without exception, you arrive at phase 5, success and fulfillment. More than just hitting a number on the scale, it's a sense of accomplishment and pride in your work, about building sustainable habits, feeling confident in your abilities, and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Okay? There they are. Uninformed optimism to informed pessimism to the valley of despair, where, as the timeline at the bottom there says, I'm going to say, based on 30 years of coaching people in this field, 99% of people are going to feel like quitting at some point around that valley of despair, maybe earlier. 90% will recycle back. So as it says, quit and repeat 1 to 3 or push through to success. It's a really incredible decision point in the valley of despair, and it's one where you want to make sure you've got all the pillars in place, including the engagement of support, so that you can hang tough, push through, be more proficient in acting on the fundamentals more consistently so that you can get the results, so that you can get to stage 4, informed optimism. You definitely know more at stage 4 than you did at stages 1 and 2. And you're going to be more optimistic because you are seeing progress. You are starting to feel the benefits. You did push through that valley and you got to the other side of effort, taking you then all the way to phase 5, success and fulfillment, which is achieving your personal summit, whatever that means for you, your personal summit of success and fulfillment. Hopefully getting a better understanding of the emotional cycles of change provides you, a roadmap to help you see that you are very much not alone in all of the ups and downs in your journey of transformation. Very much not alone. From clueless, right, at the beginning, but wildly hopeful, to often just a few weeks in feeling more aware, but still lacking knowledge and already feeling pessimistic. Very normal. That's why they wrote this. That's why other authors, that's why back in 65 and then 79, others have looked at this as well. These are very common behaviors, thinking, feeling behaviors, right? Once you're kind of a little bit more aware, you're informed, but you're feeling more pessimistic, usually even just a few weeks in, you go to feeling frustrated beyond measure or feeling completely hopeless in that valley of despair. If you never do that, wonderful. This isn't everybody does, but most do. A really high percentage of people reach some, and it's not a continuum. It's not just total despair for everybody. Some version of despair, and it'll be super low for some, it'll be moderate and be minimal for others. But some level of despair where you're like, man, I don't know if this is worth it. It's ambivalence. I want it, but I want it, but I'm not sure if it's worth the effort. I want it, but I'm not sure I'll be able to keep going. I want it, but what's the fear that follows the but? Real common thing to be circulating in the old squirrel cage up there, especially when you're left alone with your own thoughts, which is, again, another reason you want to engage support more than you think you need. The mind is a junkyard. You don't want to be left alone with it. So give your thoughts a place to land with a professional and with friends, personal, and with spiritual, as you need or as you see fit, that fits and works for you. So getting to the other side of that valley of despair. So you've applied knowledge, you got the 6 pillars working for you, you are fundeceptional, the exceptional execution of the fundamentals within the 6 pillars. You don't have to be perfect, you're just going to need to be about 90% proficient to win it, okay? You can move to the other side of effort, you can get to informed optimism, and finally to your personal summit of success. So I hope these strategies and the 6 pillar system I've created keep you moving forward. It's what this is all about. Remember, Achieving your goals is possible. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Doesn't matter what your family background is, history, genetics, upbringing, past failed attempts, doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but it isn't, none of those things will keep you from achieving your goal if you put all the fundamentals in place imperfectly, but at a high level that I teach. You can absolutely get to your goal no matter what that history might have been. It's a proven approach. It really is. And when you engage it, I promise, your weight has no choice but to do whatever we tell it to do the most consistently. It always has. It always will. We know how to tell it what to do in a way for consistency that'll get you the results you're looking for. All right? So that's what this is all about, hopefully helping you move in that direction. That's it for this week. Till next time, let's focus on what we want. Let's be grateful for what we already have. And remember, it's all happening perfectly. Good night. I'll see you guys next time, I hope. Bye-bye.